Hey everyone. Today we're going to do a hair jig for yous. It's one that I call Rootbeer Flash, and it's a flash body bucktail jig. In the vise we have a 1/8 ounce worm nose head, and you can see I cut the little barbs off of it. It's got a 2/0 VMC 7249 hook. Really good hook. I made a bunch of Ned heads with um, this hook back in the summer, and it was fantastic. I am really sold on that hook. If anybody's on the fence about it. And before we get started here, I just wanted to run something by us, and it's an idea that I had, and I was just wondering how everybody would take it, and that's what I'm going to ask you now, and that is, I was thinking about doing a video just strictly question and answer. Um, Give it like a week to get questions through my email. I leave that in the description box. It's smalljaw67 at gmail.com. And send me your questions, and um, I will do a video where we just go over all the questions I get in a typical week, and we'll answer them one at a time. If that's something you'd like to see, just let me know in the comments section. So now I got that out of the way. We're going to start this off with a little bit of super glue brush on, just a little bit in the collar and a tiny bit in the hook shank to lock our thread in. And we're going to use brown 210 denier flat wax nylon, and we'll get our base started. Now with this, my vise is a little loose. Um, with this one, we're not going to go all the way down to the hook point, obviously. Just a little bit above if you want to see exactly where it's at. You could go down a little further, up a little further. And the first thing we're going to add here, in fact, I got to bring this back up right to there, is this is brown, regular brown zonker strip, regular cut. If this was cross cut, it would be even here with the end of the leather, and it would be facing down. That's hard to it, but it'd be facing down rather than going with. And you could see the length that's past this little piece of leather here. So that's what you're looking for. And before I even tie it in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of the vise, and what I do is I line it up to where I want it to go in, and then I see that I make a mark with my thumb, and we'll push this through. Be very careful. I've stuck myself many times. You'd think that after doing it for so many years that wouldn't happen, but occasionally you lose grip on it, and instead of dropping the jig, you just sort of grab it haphazard, and next thing you know, the hook point is in your skin. So that's there. And the reason I did it that way, it's sort of something I wanted you to see, is because I know I got a lot of questions of people tying it in like this, and they'll tie the strip in and they'll mark it wrong at the end. And what they'll get is like a lump, or it won't be straight coming out the back. So what we do is put it on first. Measure where you want it to go, get it on there, and if you're off a little bit, it doesn't matter because you could just make it straight. See, I'm a little bit off, uh, so I'm up into the collar, which isn't a big deal. But now we're going to tie this in. And one more thing that I'm going to cover here that I get asked about from my earlier videos is why I started putting the zonker strips on this way, piercing it through the leather versus just tying it on the back of the shank. And what was happening is not all the time, but enough that it warranted a change. And that was on my jigs that I had a little bit longer rabbit strip trailer. When it would get wet on the cast, it would turn around and it would get the leather would snag on the hook point and it would ruin my whole presentation. So by doing it this way, it keeps that wraparound from happening. So I'm just going to keep wrapping this here to get it nice and tied down. And now we're done with that. And now we're going to do our flash body, which is, this is a medium size cactus chenille, and this is root beer too. And it's matches the head, but everything is just a little bit different, just a little shade different. And it creates a really nice looking, natural looking jig with a lot of flash. So I'm going to pull some of them fibers off, and I'm just going to tie that in by the core so I don't get that big lump. And with cactus chenille, you said you always want to preen them fibers back. Almost like hackle. I just want to get right to the bottom of that collar, and that'll be it. And we'll cut our chenille, being careful not to cut our thread. Flash body's in. Now we're going to take this. This is a root beer bucktail. I know it's hard to see on this, on my terrible camera skills, but this is like a reddish brown. It's really nice. It's a little bit darker than the chenille, but a little lighter than the jig head. And that's where that, like I said, that contrast comes in. You're getting all kinds of contrast, but it's still similar. So it doesn't look out of place. It still has a natural look to it. So we're going to take a length of bucktail here, and we only want to go maybe to the middle of our trailer. That's the kind of length we're looking for with this. We don't want to get it too bunched up. I'm tying a bunch of these for the springtime coming up here. Soon as this is going to be something that should be good soon as ice out comes. You should be able to work this along the bottom nice and slow, but also a slow swim. And with bucktail now, you don't want to tie a big clump in and try to work it all the way around. I mean, I've done that trying to save time. I find it works much better to just tie it in clumps, layers, if you will. Just take a couple, cut yourself a few clumps or as you're going. Since we're on camera here and I'm trying to show this to you in a timely fashion, so you're not sitting there for a half an hour, I make sure I cut it all ahead of time. Sometimes I have to do like I just did here. You get an uneven bunch and you have to stack it. Just line it up what I already have tied in. I'll go right in the bottom here. And there's a reason I do it in this order. Instead of like tying the sides, we do the front and the back, or the top and the bottom, however you want to categorize it, however you want to, whatever your terminology is. I change depending on the day sometimes. Not too shabby. It's not a hard, this is like real easy because it's one color. I'm not layering different colors of bucktail in, although you could. If I was going to do that with this particular pattern, I would put in some dark brown, you know, maybe there's a color called camel or ginger, just to give it a little bit of contrast, but still keep that same color profile. And I just need a little bit more. Just a little bit. Now, when you're doing like layers like this, that's another question I get all the time is how do you keep it even as far as bulk on each side? And the easiest thing I could tell you is it comes with practice. It's you you get to know what it should look like versus what it does look like. And what I do with these all the time is I pull out the short ones because you're going to get that. Like you could see them, you'll see them sticking out from the collar or right below the collar. When I don't do videos all the time, I tend to ramble on a lot. But that's what got me. I was responding to an email and I thought, boy, this would be a lot easier if I could just talk about it. And that's where the idea of doing one of these question and answer type deals came about. Now, when I have a little bit larger collar like I have on this, what I like to do is build the top up a little bit. And create a little bit of a taper. You don't have to do some tapers are bigger than others depending on the size of the jig. You don't have to. It's just something I do because I like the look of it. When I'm tying bucktail and like on a jig that doesn't have a ring on it, I do that. It's easier to tie in that way. Plus, it's a little more secure. And because your collar is bigger when you have it on a taper, it looks a little better. That, at least to me, it does. And our water-based head cement, and then I'll show you what we have. You could do these flash bodies with anything, really. You could marabou, rabbit, Arctic foxtail, whatever you feel like. You know, I do these a lot. It gives a different version, a different kind of profile. And if you wanted to, you can even add like flash on the outside, make it a really heavily flash jig. I'm not adding it because we got the really flashy chenille under here, the cactus chenille. Head's got a lot of glitter in it. So I don't think I need to go with any kind of external flash. So let's take it out of the vise here and see what we have. There you go. A real simple bucktail jig. And this is a fish catcher. Now, I don't know. I've never done this pattern specifically with this is the first time I'm using this Rootbeer Bucktail, but this style jig works. I'll tell you that right now. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.